AI essentially is freedom. For social media, for all these different platforms, it provides you the freedom to connect in more unique ways, to have stronger, more consistent conversation because you can be talking to people through your AI without having to stare at a device. And you have a more profound life experience because your life isn't stuck to one screen. Hello and welcome to Exploring AI with Arghon. I'm Lauren Brown, Arghon's Chief Creative Officer, here today with Kali Brown, Arghon's CEO and founder. And we're going to talk to you today about social media and the impact that artificial intelligence is going to have on this field that connects us all. So thank you, Kali, for being with us.
My pleasure.
All right, so social media is a part of everyone's life on either a direct level or someone who knows someone who's on social media. Artificial intelligence is also about connecting people. It's more than talking to an AI. It's about talking to your circles. It's talking to and connecting you to the people around you. How do you see artificial intelligence connecting people in this new era?
So if you think of, the whole idea, the word social means interaction, people interacting with each other. And a significant portion of what you do on a daily basis, in fact, the majority of what you do on a daily basis is some form of interaction, whether it's your colleagues at work or your friends in the afternoon and your family maybe later on in the evening. You're always interacting. So that whole process of interaction is something that your personal AI is going to be a significant part of it, because the AI is here, the personal AI that we're talking about, so we need to make a distinction between personal AI
and like a
general purpose AI.
Yeah.
So a lot of the AIs that you see today are mostly general purpose ones. So, but back to personal AI. So the personal AI is going to know your schedule. It's going to know what you plan to do in a day, a week, or whatever. And your friends also will have
their personal
AI, exactly. And many of the times the issue is, how do you get together? Who has a free time? And
everybody's so busy now that they need some way to find time.
One poor person always ends up being the organizer, and that person, if they do a good job, it's stuck with it.
Stay with that position forever.
Exactly. So for those people and for everybody else, Arghon is designed to interact, so multiple AIs can interact. And so, for example,
So when you say interaction, what does that mean? Because people might not be familiar.
Okay, so remember now, if you're going to go hang out with a couple of friends, you're going to have to see what time they're available and what day. And Arghon would know your schedule. Their Arghon would know their schedule. So putting that together, you could just say to Arghon, listen, I want to meet so-and-so. Arghon would look at your schedule and say, nah, you can't do it at this time. The only time I see available is this. So the way Arghon is set up now, we set it up so that you can actually, it can interact with other, depending on how much, of course, you want to, the other person's AI to have access. But it can send a request to you and you respond back, your AI that is, respond back saying, these are the 3 slots we have available. I can do any one of these 3.
Okay, so what you're saying is that, for people whose schedule, and I think it applies whether or not they're extremely busy, or if you're just, let's say a college student or even just a random person socially. What I'm hearing is that essentially, since your Arghon's going to know what your setup is, know what your schedule is looking like, it's going to be a lot easier for 2 Arghons, my Arghon, your Arghon, to say, okay, here are the times that match. Here's what works.
Exactly. And that becomes, it doesn't matter if you have one thing on your agenda, you still have to get together and put that together. So that's where the AI is going to come in. It's going to obviously make it a lot easier, but you still have to, in real life right now, you have to call up your friend and say, hey, are you available at so-and-so? And that would be replaced by the AI doing that. By the AI. Arghon doing that, yes.
I think also too, that's good for a few things. I think it's really good for definitely when you're very, very busy. And I think it might even save marriages, because people who are really busy will be able to say, okay, well, here's a good time for date night, or here's a great time to make sure our kids have quality time with us. And then you also have the singles who are going, here's a great time for a date night. And then you have the people who are going, I need to study, or I need to figure out how to, if I'm in a work team, what time works for everyone. So it applies to so many different, from the professional to the personal realm. Arghon's really creating bridges for people to connect. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's in a way going beyond the screen. So that's you talking to your AI and having these situations set up. What do you see happening to social media, though? And when I say that, I mean the apps that we know right now, the platforms that are very popular, where you're sharing either pictures or statuses or stories and things like that. What happens to those platforms in an era where artificial intelligence is being used by, the 12-year-old down the block and the CEO?
Well, that is to be decided, but the initial, because you still will need social interaction. Every human.
Social media?
Social interaction.
Okay.
And a lot of it's happening through social media. I think the biggest impact, or the most immediate impact, is really the AI will know your interest, for example. And part of social media, a good chunk of social media we consume. We don't really, it's not a back and forth, it's just really a consumption. So, for example, somebody might tweet something and 1,000 people or a million people read it. And it's a one-way tweet. In other words, it's a one-way communication. So that's part of social media. When we think of it, we sometimes think it's always a back and forth. It's not always. In fact, the vast majority of it is consumption.
Wait, let's stop to highlight that. I think you're making a really profound point, and then you're kind of just walking by it like it's not a thing. I think that is the discussion, the idea that a lot of social media is actually kind of this announcement, one-to-many style interaction, is very much not what comes to the forefront, like you said, when you think about social media.
Yes.
And I think that can be said because social media makes us feel like we're more connected, even if we're saying, like, if there's a Beyoncé, who's making a visual that she's sharing on social media, that's not necessarily a back and forth interaction, but you feel like it is because you're on the same platform. It's more access than you'd have without it. That unique mental state, I think, is one of the profound things that that social media offers to the public. How does artificial intelligence connect that part, the thing that, while it might be a one-to-many, you still feel the intimacy and you still feel like there's this, I can know you even if we don't directly interact? Yeah,
so a good example to answer that question would be, so take somebody like Beyoncé, where, let's say she's producing a new album. It has a big impact on her audience. If they can be kind of behind the scenes, they can see
the making of.
Yeah, they are kind of involved with it, although it's a one-way street, meaning that they're just consuming it. But it binds them closer to her and to her music. And one of the things that social media lacks now is your AI, for example, will know when the next Beyoncé concert is going to be, where it's going to happen, and perhaps might say to you, you're going to be in the same city as she, and she's going to have a concert that day. Why don't I book something for you?
Yeah.
So it's more than just consumption now. You're becoming, you're being tied closer to her as time goes by.
Okay.
But the AI is the one that initiated that whole piece. So right now everything is incumbent on the person. So if you follow Beyoncé, for example, if you follow her Twitter feed, or you just follow her on Instagram or wherever,
any of the social media
platforms, you have to take the initiative to go become part of that and stay on top of it. The reality is that what people are looking for those social relationships to go beyond the version 1.0 is to be interactive with them. And to be at their concert. That's far more interactive than me just listening to her song.
Right. But so to pull it back to a more normal, because I think on social media we are mostly seeing the people we know in our direct circles. We might see the celebrities we follow, but the people who are having the most immediate impact are the people that we are directly aware of and whatnot. How does that same sense of intimacy not get lost on AI when you're dealing with, or the intimacy you get from social media? How do you maintain that with AI?
The interactions are going to be closer, more.
What does that mean?
Meaning that a lot of so right now, let's say you were Instagramming somebody, or you were using WhatsApp chatting with somebody.
Yeah.
That whole interaction back and forth is a bonding bonding thing.
Yeah.
But then what happens when you're getting off work? You want to carry that process beyond just on the phone chatting back and forth, right? You want to go out and hang out together. You want to go out and go to a concert together. You want to go out and do things together. Or here's a different example. So tomorrow is somebody's birthday. So the AI is going to know it's your friend's birthday. So the AI is going to be able to say to you, listen, on your way from work, you need to get this, or you need to pick up this for that party. That all of that is increasing on that bond that you currently have. It's making that stronger, because some of those things are things you wouldn't normally think of. For people who are really really good at on the social,
those kinds of
like this might not apply to them 100%. But for like most of us who sometimes forget somebody's birthday because it's not you don't really deal with them on a daily basis.
So one of the things that you keep mentioning, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm trying to basically hear about the back and forth, because we have some really cool features which I haven't heard you mention, and I'm waiting for you to mention. So things like the messaging, right? And being able to send people messages and have this instant back and forth, being able to recall messages because you didn't like what you sent and you want them to not see it. Those are good things that we have as features. One of the things that this era of interaction and social media has brought that is good, that I don't know gets enough shine, is the ability to be far apart and still feel connected. And a lot of what you've mentioned is about getting together and the in-person thing. That might be a generational difference, where for you social is entirely purely the physical getting together. But I think, the best of both worlds is truly the ideal, where you have a healthy balance of that. I'm far away, but I can still have the intimacy, the closeness, the friendship, or just the you get me kind of interaction, in addition to the being able to plan things. So I want to pull away from scheduling, which is kind of what's been talked about, and go more into
the interactive
how Arghon facilitates those distant interactions.
Okay, so one of the things you do when you go on the Arghon platform, when you first get on the platform, and you can just obviously do that continuously, is to inform Arghon who your friends are, who your whole circle is. Now that allows those interactions we were talking about earlier. So we talked about messaging. So let me just talk about that for a little bit, because it's not like a typical messenger, like where you just send a message and then come back later on. You can be interactive with your friends and want to find out some third-party information, or want Arghon to do something.
And what does interacting with your friends mean?
Meaning you're chatting with your friends back and forth.
So it's purely on the platform now. It's not in person. Okay.
Right. You're going back and forth. You're messaging your friend.
Yeah.
But here, let's say your friend wanted to know, something. They wanted to know when a flight is going to be. Yeah. You can involve Arghon in that conversation. Arghon will then go out, get that information, and bring it back to the conversation. Yeah. In real time. Yeah. So it is not.
It becomes a third friend in the conversation.
It becomes a third. Exactly. It's embedded in the conversation. It can also, participate in the conversation. You could hear things, and you could even say something to Arghon within the conversation itself.
Except it won't be like creepily like interjecting laughter.
No, won't do that. Okay. The whole idea is that you control your AI, and again, it might be that you're talking to your sibling, and you're going to fly there. You want to some emergency, and you want to know in that conversation, what flight is available, or when, what plane. So you have Arghon interject into something like that. Yeah. That's just one way, but our messaging platform is much more much bigger than just the basic messaging that most platforms have.
Yeah. So what does that mean?
It means that
What does it have? Why it's bigger?
Well, any function that you can do with Arghon one-on-one, you can incorporate that within the conversation.
So with other people?
Yes. You can also, it has things like privacy. So for example, you can involve Arghon in the conversation or get some information from Arghon within the conversation and nobody else knows.
So you can secretly chat to Arghon in your conversation.
Absolutely. You have
everyone else is not aware that Argon's being talked to.
Exactly.
And then you can come back to the conversation and they'll never know.
A good example would be somebody says something and you think, no, that's not the right answer, and you just go to Arghon.
So it's essentially like it's the technology version of having an aside on the phone, where you put the phone to the side and you go, hey, so is that true? And then Argon's like, nah, or yes, and then
which would then enhance your standing because hey, you're the genius now. So you want that. Everybody wants that.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the things that that I've noted in the years of being a part of this in the research, and it's something that was touched on when you went to an IoT conference, and that's Internet of Things for people who don't know the abbreviation, where you talked about, and it was a general theme at the event, this idea that AI helps pull people off of their screens. This is kind of jumping back to where you were at the beginning of the conversation. One of the things that I've noted is that AI seems like it becomes a go-between for the user and the various social media platforms. So instead of having to look at your screen all the time to stay updated, you're able to have Arghon help you stay updated. How do you see, or was this something that you kind of planned from the beginning, or is this just an offshoot of what an AI does? And yeah.
No, it's something we planned actually. Right now, the interactions, a significant chunk of the interactions are on people's phones, and that leads to some interesting things because just if you walk in Manhattan or any big city, you see people constantly on their phone. People get hurt from their just walking into things because they're so caught up. This whole idea where you're tied to that little 4-inch screen is really kind of crazy if you think about it.
Yeah.
You have the whole world in front of you. You're stuck with this little screen.
Yeah.
So the whole idea. So the whole process of interacting should be multidimensional. It can't just be that little screen and you're going back and forth on it, because first of all, it's socially awkward, right? Secondly, it's dangerous in many cases. The other part of it though is sometimes you want to reach out to people, and one of the things you can do is just say, Arghon, find out when so-and-so is doing so-and-so. And it saves you all that interaction back and forth. Now you're free to use that time to do something more worthwhile,
So if I were to summarize that we're saying that AI essentially is freedom. For social media, for all these different platforms, it provides you the freedom to connect in more unique ways, to have stronger, more consistent conversation because you can be talking to people through your AI without having to stare at a device. And you have a more profound life experience because your life isn't stuck to one screen.
Yes.
And so, thank you so much, Kali. And thank you all for joining us. This has been Exploring AI with Arghon. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications to stay updated with us. Follow us on social media, and to download Arghon, go to www.arghon.com. Thank you, and see you in the next video. Bye.
Subscribe to this channel, where weekly we'll explore what it means to connect to your world through artificial intelligence. And to be part of the Arghon journey, follow us on social media.